You know that feeling, right? You've been part of a project with this brilliant, technically perfect plan that just falls completely flat. And then, on the flip side, you've seen a simple idea, something the team came up with, just take off like a rocket. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's definitely not luck. So let's dive in and uncover the simple, powerful formula that explains exactly why some changes stick and others just don't.
It is one of the most frustrating things in any business, isn't it? You get the experts, you pull all the data, you create a solution that, on paper, is absolutely flawless. But then, when it's time to roll it out, you get resistance, confusion, or just nothing, apathy. And that perfect plan just withers on the vine. So, what's the missing ingredient? What are we getting wrong?
Believe it or not, the success or failure of that big, important change can often be predicted with some super simple math. Yeah, I'm serious. An elegant little equation that perfectly balances the two most critical parts of any new initiative.
And that brings us right to the heart of this explainer, the effectiveness equation. This whole idea comes from what are called blue bus cultures. Now think of these as organizations that really truly prioritize collaboration and team commitment over those top-down orders. And they use this equation to figure out what actually makes change work.
Okay, here it is. E equals Q times O. It's that simple. E stands for effectiveness, how successful the change actually is in the real world. Q is for quality. How good is the idea? How sound, how technically perfect is the solution? And O, well, O is for ownership. And that, my friends, is the secret ingredient. It's the amount of buy-in and commitment you get from the very people who have to use and live with this change every single day.
Now, look closely. The most important detail on this whole slide is that tiny little X. It's not a plus sign, it is a multiplication sign. And that changes everything. Why? Because think back to grade school math. In multiplication, if any number is 0, what happens? The entire result is 0. It doesn't matter how amazing your quality is, if your ownership is 0, your effectiveness is also 0. And that right there is the mathematical proof for why so many perfect plans fail.
And this just illustrates the difference perfectly. So on the left, you've got the red bus approach. Think command and control. An expert team huddles in a back room and creates a 100% A+ perfect quality plan. But because nobody was involved, ownership is a big, fat 0. The result? 0 effectiveness. Another perfect plan, dead on arrival. Now, look at the blue bus way on the right. The solution is good, maybe not flawless, let's call it 80% quality. But because the team was in on it from the start, they have huge ownership, let's say 80%. You multiply those together, and you get 64% effectiveness. A good plan that actually gets implemented is infinitely better than a perfect plan that doesn't.
So it's pretty clear that O for ownership is the variable that really moves the needle. It's the one we so often forget, but it makes all the difference in the world. So let's really dig into why. Why is it so powerful? What is the psychology behind this?
The absolute best way to understand the power of ownership is through something we have all experienced, the Ikea effect. Just think about that bookshelf or desk you spent a whole Saturday assembling, with those confusing little diagrams and tiny Allen wrench. You probably feel just a little more pride in that piece of furniture than one that came pre-assembled, right? Well, that's the Ikea effect in action.
So here's what it boils down to. We just value things more when we've had a hand in making them. That effort, that struggle, it gives us a real sense of pride, of achievement. It's not just a solution anymore, it becomes our solution. And when we build it together as a team, it creates this incredible sense of belonging. We did this. We solved this problem.
And this idea translates directly and powerfully to the workplace. When people can literally see their own ideas, their fingerprints, all over a new process or a new system, they become deeply invested in its success. They get the why behind it because they were part of the whole conversation. Now, this doesn't mean every single idea makes it in, of course not. But it means people's voices were heard, and most importantly, they were valued.
Okay, so we want to create that Ikea effect at work. We absolutely need to build that crucial ownership. But how? How do you do that in a structured way that also makes sure you end up with a high-quality solution? Well, that's where this simple but incredibly powerful tool comes in, the CEL framework.
CEL gives everyone in the organization a shared language, a way to test out any idea. Before you move forward, you just ask these 4 simple questions. S, is it safe for our people, our customers, our business? E, is it ethical? Does it line up with our values? L, is it legal? Pretty straightforward. And then finally, the really interesting one. L, is it lifting the lid?
Lifting the lid. That's some of that blue bus shorthand we were talking about.
And it basically just means continuous improvement. Does this idea raise our game? Does it improve a process, get rid of a frustration, or lift the thinking of the entire team? It's the question that ensures every single change is a real step forward, driving those small, incremental improvements that add up to massive gains over time.
So, let's connect all the dots here. How does this simple 4-question framework directly fuel our E equals Q times O equation? Well, it actually works on both sides of that multiplication sign, which is what makes change so much faster and stickier.
First off, SEL is a fantastic quality filter. It's just common sense, right? By asking if an idea is safe, ethical, legal, and if it actually improves things, you naturally weed out all the low-quality or high-risk suggestions. It makes sure that the ideas that do move forward have a solid foundation, and that directly boosts the Q in our equation.
But here's the real magic. By giving everyone on the team this simple framework, you empower them. You're giving them a safe, shared language to bring forward their own ideas, to challenge the way things are done respectfully, and to help shape the solutions. This active involvement, that is exactly what builds ownership. This is how you create the IKEA effect at work and dramatically crank up the O in the equation. So, if you're a leader or you're part of a support function, this is your playbook. If an enterprise-wide change is failing, diagnose it with E equals Q times O. Is it a quality problem or is it an ownership problem? Actively involve your people. Give them the SEL framework. You can use simple phrases like, "Hey, that's an interesting idea. Can you sell it to me?" to encourage them to think it through. Or if you have an idea, you can ask, "I've got a thought. Would you like me to sell it to you?" This totally levels the playing field and makes it about the idea, not about who's higher up in the org chart. And remember, a good plan with high ownership will always beat a perfect plan with none.
And that leaves us with one final thought to take back to your team. Look at the next big change you've got coming down the pike. As you look at it through this new lens of E equals Q times O, ask yourself, where is our focus right now? Have we obsessed over perfecting the quality while completely forgetting about ownership? Or maybe the team is so bought in that we can now afford to spend a little more time refining the quality. Finding that balance, that is the true key to making change that actually works.